She was forced to play the piano as a joke. A girl in a wrinkled linen dress, scuffed flats, and unbrushed hair stood there before the Steinway, like someone had just pulled a janitor onto the stage of an opera house. The room paused. 3 seconds of silence. Then erupted in soft laughter, whispers, and condescending stares. Seriously? She's going to play? Here comes tonight's comic relief. Well, at least there's someone to blame if this night tanks. No one chose her because they believed in her. They picked her because they thought she'd be the perfect train wreck for a night with no plan. And if she failed, so much the better. But what they didn't know was that she used to be a piano genius. The auditorium of the Aurea School of Arts glowed under crystal chandeliers, its burgundy curtains framing a stage where a polished Steinway grand piano stood like a monument. The air was thick with the scent of lilies and expensive cologne, and the audience, clad in couture gowns and tailored tuxedos, their wrists heavy with diamonds and gold, buzzed with the confidence of the untouchable. This was Aurea's annual gala, a Chicago night where art and power collided, drawing music moguls, billionaire donors, and reporters hungry for a scoop. The guest list was a fortress of exclusivity: tech tycoons, celebrity artists, and influencers whose posts could make or break careers. Outside, security in black suits kept paparazzi at bay, and Howd Aurea Gala was trending globally before the first glass clinked. This wasn't just an event, it was a battlefield for status. Lena Hart slipped through a service door, her faded linen dress, soft gray, creased from a day's work, catching faintly on the frame. At 36, she was striking in her simplicity. Warm hazel eyes, dark hair tied in a loose bun with strands escaping, and a quiet grace that seemed to calm the chaos around her. Her scuffed flats whispered on the marble floor, and her crossbody bag held cleaning wipes, a notebook, and a worn photo of her mother. Once she'd been a prodigy, her fingers commanding concert halls at 15, accepted into the Viridian Academy with a full scholarship. But her mother's accident, a drunk driver that left her paralyzed, changed everything. Lena walked away from her dreams to care for her, taking this janitor job at Aurea to cover medical bills. Her wealth, a multi-million-dollar trust from her late father's software patents, sat untouched in accounts she never spoke of. She didn't need Aurea's respect. She needed to survive. Backstage, panic was a living thing. The gala's headliner, a renowned pianist named Marcus Reed, had been hospitalized after a car accident, leaving the centerpiece, Liszt's Hungarian Rhapsody No. 2, a piece so demanding it could break even the best, in ruins. The director, Evelyn Pierce, a sharp woman in a black velvet gown, her blonde hair swept into a chignon, barked orders at her assistant Lucas, a jittery man clutching a tablet. "We can't cancel," she hissed, her voice cutting through the din. "The donors are here. The press is here. Find someone." The staff scrambled, their voices a frantic hum. "No one can play Liszt on zero notice," Lucas muttered, his tie askew. "We're toast." Lena, quietly wiping down a railing, overheard the chaos. Her fingers paused, the cloth still in her hand, as Liszt's chords echoed in her mind. She'd mastered the Rhapsody at 17, its ferocious runs and delicate trills a language she still spoke. A young student, Sophie Clark, a violinist with kind eyes and a simple navy dress, noticed Lena's stillness. Sophie, one of the few at Aurea who smiled at Lena, stepped forward. "Miss Lena," she said, her voice piercing the noise, "she can play." The room erupted in laughter. Evelyn spun, her eyes narrowing as they landed on Lena. "Her?" she scoffed, loud enough for the staff to hear. "The mop rat? Please." Lucas smirked, tapping his tablet. "Let her play. It'll be hilarious." Professor Diane Monroe, her silk scarf fluttering, chimed in. "At least we'll have someone to blame when this crashes." The staff's jeers swelled, sharp and cruel, as they gestured toward the stage. "Go on, janitor," Diane said, her tone dripping with mockery. "Show us your talent." Lena's grip tightened on her cloth, the only sign of tension in her composed posture. She met Evelyn's gaze, her hazel eyes steady. "I can play," she said softly, her voice clear despite the scorn. Evelyn's lips curled into a sneer. "Play, or you're gone from Aurea for good," she said, her words a gauntlet. "Prove you're more than a rag, or don't come back." The staff parted, their smirks a silent dare as Lena set down her cloth and walked toward the stage. The auditorium's lights burned bright, exposing her wrinkled dress, her unbrushed hair, her lack of polish. The audience, seated and sipping champagne, murmured as she appeared, their whispers a rising tide of disdain. "Is that the help?" A donor named Edward Vance, his cufflinks glinting, muttered. "This is a gala, not a charity case," his wife, in an emerald gown, hissed. A reporter, Tara Klein, her phone out, snapped a photo captioning it, "Oria's desperate. Janitor on stage." The crowd's laughter grew, soft but vicious. A student in the balcony, Ethan Ford, shouted, "She's gonna bomb!" Phones flashed, framing Lena as a punchline before she could sit. She stood serene, her shoulders back, as if their stares were just another mess to clean. Evelyn took the stage, her velvet gown catching the light as she grabbed the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, her voice booming, "due to an emergency, we've made a bold choice." She gestured at Lena, her smile venomous. "Meet Lena Hart, our janitor, who claims she can play Liszt. Let's give her a chance, shall we?" The crowd roared with laughter, some clapping mockingly. "This is pure gold." Tara's livestream hit 5,000 viewers, comments flooding. "What a joke! Oria's finished." Lena's dress seemed to shrink under the spotlight, her flats scuffed against the stage. She didn't flinch. She walked to the Steinway, her steps measured, and sat. The audience leaned in, their whispers sharp as knives. "She's shaking," a gallery owner named Victor Crane muttered, his Rolex flashing. "Bet she can't play a note," his wife, in a pearl choker, giggled. Ethan, his phone filming, called out, "Play chopsticks, sweetheart." The laughter swelled, a chorus of scorn. Lena's hands hovered over the keys, her hazel eyes closing briefly, as if summoning a buried fire. The crowd's jeers grew louder, someone shouting, "Get off the stage!" Tara's livestream hit 10,000 viewers, her voice gleeful. "This is Lena Nobody, thinking she can save Oria's gala," she mocked, zooming in on Lena's wrinkled dress. "Total loser vibes. Bet she's fired by midnight." Comments exploded. "Humiliating. End this." Lena had endured worse. Months ago, Elias Ford, a senior with a music producer father, had snapped a photo of her scrubbing stairs, posting it with the caption, #Oria royalty. Guess who's not invited? The post went viral, students laughing as they tagged her mop rat. One afternoon, Megan Walsh, her Gucci watch gleaming, had smirked, "I bet she plays the mop," as she accidentally kicked Lena's cleaning bucket, soaking her shoes. Another time, Lena had been dusting a Steinway when Savannah Blake, a vocal instructor, stormed in, snapping, "That piano's worth more than your life. Don't touch it." Lena apologized, backing away, but Savannah's words stung like a slap. Just last week, Elias had poured water down the steps as Lena carried boxes, smirking. Oops, needed more shine. Her dress clung to her legs, her flats squelching, but she'd walked on, silent, her crossbody bag tight in her grip. Lena carried a tray of cleaning supplies through Oria's bustling cafeteria, her linen dress catching snickers from students at polished tables. Elias Ford stood on a chair holding a mop like a microphone, his voice booming, "Ladies and gentlemen, the mop rat's here to serenade us." The room exploded in laughter, forks clattering as students turned to stare. Megan Walsh, her scarlet lipstick sharp, tossed a napkin at Lena's feet, smirking. "Clean that up, maestro." Lena's hazel eyes flickered with restrained hurt, but she knelt to pick it up, her hands steady. A group of freshmen joined in, chanting, mop rat," as Elias filmed, his phone capturing every humiliating second. A professor, Dr. Helen Grant, watched from a corner. Her coffee cup paused mid-sip, but she said nothing, her silence as cutting as the jeers. Lena stood, her posture unbroken, and walked away, the chants echoing behind her. The video hit Oria's student chat groups within minutes, racking up thousands of views, each laugh a dagger in her quiet resolve. Lena approached her locker in Oria's staff room, her crossbody bag heavy with cleaning supplies. The door was defaced with black marker, "Mop Rat's Throne" scrawled in jagged letters, a crude drawing of a mop dripping water. Inside, her spare dress was soaked, reeking of bleach, her notebook torn to shreds. A note taped to the mirror read, "Stay in your lane, janitor." Laughter echoed from the hallway. Elias and Megan, their voices unmistakable, high-fiving as they walked away. Lena's fingers trembled as she touched the ruined pages, her mother's photo miraculously untouched, staring back from the mess. A co-worker, Jane, glanced over but quickly looked away, unwilling to get involved. Lena's jaw tightened, her hazel eyes burning with unspoken defiance as she salvaged what she could. She didn't report it. Oria's staff would call it pranks, not vandalism. Instead, she changed into her damp dress and returned to work, the bleach scent clinging to her, each step a silent vow to endure. Once, in a quiet practice room, Lena had seen a donor's daughter, a shy girl named Lily, struggling with Beethoven. "Keep your wrists loose," Lena had said softly, demonstrating with her hands. The girl's playing improved instantly, her smile bright. But Professor Monroe had burst in, furious. "What are you doing with my student? Who do you think you are?" Lena's heart raced as she stepped back. "I was just—" "Silence," Monroe cut her off. "Stay out of practice rooms, or you're done." Lena didn't argue, but the memory burned, a quiet vow forming. One day, they'd hear her. During a rehearsal break, Lena was sweeping the auditorium's aisles when Megan and a group of students cornered her. "Hey, mop rat, let's see your skills," Megan taunted, shoving a toy keyboard from a props closet into Lena's arms. The group laughed as Elias set up a phone tripod, streaming to his followers. "Play something, janitor," he jeered, tossing a coin at her feet. "Earn your tip." The tiny keys clinked discordantly as Lena's fingers brushed them, her face calm, but her eyes sharp with suppressed pain. Savannah Blake, passing by, joined in, her voice icy. "Don't waste our time. She's no artist." Students chanted, "Play, play," as the live stream's comments piled up. "What a loser." "Kick her out." Lena set the toy down gently, refusing to engage, but the crowd's laughter followed her as she resumed sweeping, their cruelty a weight she carried silently. The video spread across Oria's social channels, branding her a laughingstock. Now on this stage, those moments fueled her. Lena's fingers touched the keys. Hungarian Rhapsody. Number 2 exploded from the Steinway, not as music, but as vengeance. The opening chords crashed through the auditorium, fierce and unyielding, each note a blade carving through the laughter. Lena's hands moved with impossible precision, weaving through the pieces' ferocious runs, her fingers dancing across the keys like a storm breaking free. The melody surged, now delicate, now savage, a torrent of pain and brilliance that silenced the crowd in seconds. Her wrinkled dress faded, her scuffed flats irrelevant. There was only the music, her music, roaring through the hall like a woman turned into a punchline finally speaking. The audience froze, mouths open, phones lowering. Evelyn's velvet gown seemed to dim, her microphone forgotten in her hand. Tara's livestream hit 20,000 viewers, but her commentary stopped, her phone shaking as she stared. Victor Crane's Rolex stopped flashing. His wife's pearls seemed dull. Ethan's laughter died, his phone frozen mid-record. Reporters in the back, pens poised for snark, let them fall, their notebooks blank. Sophie, in the wings, clutched her violin, tears in her eyes, whispering, "I knew it." The music built, Lena's fingers a blur, the Rhapsody's climax a wildfire that burned away every whisper, every sneer. Lena played as if the keys were her voice, each note a piece of her story. Her mother's accident, her lost dreams, the years of mopping floors while Oria's elite spat on her. The auditorium was hers now, the crowd no longer mocking but awestruck, their breath held as she owned the stage. The final chords rang out, a triumphant roar, and Lena's hands stilled. Silence gripped the room, heavy and absolute, before the audience erupted into applause, a tidal wave of respect. Standing ovations swept the hall, donors rising, reporters scrambling to rewrite their stories. Tara's live stream hit 50,000 viewers, comments screaming, "She's a genius!" "Oria's saved!" Lena stood, her hazel eyes calm, her dress still wrinkled and bowed slightly, her grace unshaken. Backstage, Evelyn's face was ashen, her gown no shield. How did you—" she stammered, but Lena didn't answer. She walked past, her flat silent, as Lucas clutched his tablet, muttering, "She's the real deal." The crowd's cheers followed her, a sound she didn't need but had earned. Sophie ran to her, hugging her tightly. "You were amazing, Ms. Lena," she said, her voice breaking. Lena smiled, soft but fierce. "Thank you, Sophie," she said. for believing. But the night wasn't over. As the applause still echoed, the auditorium doors swung open with a thud. A man strode in, his presence like a thunderclap, tall, broad-shouldered, with piercing blue eyes and salt and pepper hair. His charcoal suit was tailored to perfection, but it was his aura, calm, unyielding, that silenced the whispers. This was Daniel Vaughan, the billionaire founder of Vaughan Tech, a $12 billion empire built on AI and green energy. He was a shadow in the public eye, his name whispered in boardrooms, his face rarely seen. The crowd gasped, reporters leaning forward. "That's Daniel Vaughan?" a donor whispered. "He never shows up." Daniel walked straight to Lena, who stood near the stage, her crossbody bag in her arms. His eyes softened as he reached her, his hand brushing her shoulder. "You okay, Lena?" he asked, his voice low, meant only for her. She nodded, her smile warm. "Always, Dan." He turned to the crowd, his hand on her back, and raised his voice, each word a blade. "This is Lena Hart," he said, his tone ironclad. "My wife, and the heart of everything I've built." A collective gasp ripped through the auditorium. Evelyn's jaw dropped, her gown suddenly garish. Diane clutched her scarf, her face pale. The crowd's shock was palpable, phones flashing as Tara's live stream hit 100,000 viewers. Comments screaming, "She's his wife? They're done!" Lena stood beside Daniel, her silence louder than any speech. She didn't need to defend herself, her grace did that. Daniel's gaze swept the room, pinning Evelyn, Diane, Elias, Megan. "You mocked my wife," he said, his voice hardening. "You called her a mop rat, humiliated her for sport, but Lena's worth more than all of you combined." He nodded to a woman in a sleek gray suit, Clara, his chief of staff, her tablet glowing with data. "Clara, pull Vaughan Tech's funding from Aurea. Every grant, every donation, gone, effective now." Clara's fingers flew, her face a mask of focus as the crowd gasped. Evelyn stammered, "Mr. Vaughan, please, we didn't know." Daniel cut her off, his eyes like steel. "You didn't need to know. You should have treated her like a person." The screen above the stage flickered, showing Vaughan Tech's $60 million in annual grants to Aurea vanishing in real time. Donors clutched their champagne flutes, their wealth tied to Aurea's survival. Elias's face paled, his music dreams crumbling. Megan's phone slipped, her live stream cutting off. Diane sank into a chair, her career in ruins. The reporters went wild, headlines forming, "Billionaire pulls Aurea funding over janitor's triumph." Lena watched, her crossbody bag still in her arms, her silence a testament to her strength. But the crowd's cruelty hadn't gone unnoticed. Days before, Elias had cornered Lena in a hallway, his phone out, filming as he taunted, "Smile for the mop rat montage." The video, posted to his 50,000 followers, had racked up likes as students commented, "She's nothing. Ban her." Now that clip resurfaced, shared by an anonymous account, and the internet turned on him. His music label dropped him, his father's name no shield. Megan's mop comment, caught on a student's phone, went viral, her influencer deals canceled as #Mopgate trended. Savannah's rant about the Steinway, recorded by a passing staffer, cost her her job, her reputation shredded. Diane's outburst at Lily's lesson, overheard by a donor, led to her suspension, her silk scarf no defense against the public's outrage. Tara's live stream, meant to bury Lena, backfired spectacularly. Her comment section turned against her. Sponsors pulling out as #CancelTara trended. Elias Ford's mop rat video became his undoing. Shared by a whistleblower, it racked up millions of views, but now with comments like, "Disgusting bully," and "Cancel him," his label dropped him, citing brand misalignment, and his father's production company distanced itself, leaving him without a safety net. At a press conference, Elias stammered, "It was just a joke," but the crowd booed, and a reporter shouted, "How's it feel to be the punchline now?" His social media accounts were suspended, his followers plummeting from 50,000 to a few hundred. Aurea expelled him, his music dreams shattered. As Lena's Hart Music Academy opened its doors, a new segment juxtaposed her teaching kids with Elias's tearful apology video, which flopped with 12 likes. The world cheered as Lena's star rose, while Elias faded into obscurity, his cruelty his own ruin. Her career as a reporter tanked, her name synonymous with cruelty. The gala's donors, shamed by their silence, pledged millions to arts programs in Lena's name, but she redirected the funds to a new vision. Lena founded the Heart Music Academy, a free school for underprivileged kids where talent mattered more than designer labels. Oria's board, desperate to salvage their reputation, issued a public apology. But it was too late. Donors withdrew $100 million in pledges, and the school's ranking plummeted. Evelyn Pierce was fired, her name blacklisted in the arts world, her velvet gown a relic of her arrogance. At the Heart Music Academy's opening, Lena stood in a simple dress, cutting the ribbon as cameras flashed. Kids from Chicago's poorest neighborhoods poured in, their eyes wide at the free pianos and Lena's warm smile. A viral video showed her teaching a boy with shaky hands, her voice gentle. "You're already music." The clip hit 30 million views, with comments like, "Lena's changing lives." Oria's gala became a footnote, while Lena's Academy became a global symbol of art for all. The world celebrated her, not just for her talent, but for her heart. She taught there herself, her hands guiding young fingers on the keys, her hazel eyes warm with purpose. Her mother, now in a state-of-the-art care facility funded by Lena's trust, watched her daughter's performances on a tablet, tears in her eyes. Lena's wealth, once hidden, now built futures, but she never changed. Still in simple dresses, still humble, still strong. The gala's aftermath was a global firestorm. Lena's performance hit 20 million views in days, orchestras and labels begging for her, Carnegie Hall, the Paris Philharmonic, a residency in Tokyo. As Lena's performance clip spread, the internet exploded, her Rhapsody hitting 25 million views in 48 hours. Music legends took notice. Lang Lang tweeted, "Lena Hart is a force," while Yo-Yo Ma called her a hidden gem. Carnegie Hall offered a solo recital, the Berlin Philharmonic begged for a guest spot, and Sony Music sent a contract with a 7-figure advance. Backstage, as Lena packed her crossbody bag, a young fan, a girl in a simple dress, slipped past security to hand her a drawing of a piano with "Thank you, Ms. Lena," scrawled in crayon. Lena knelt, her hazel eyes warm, and hugged her, whispering, "Keep playing." The moment was caught on camera, going viral as how Steinway Queen trended. Reporters swarmed, but Lena slipped away with Daniel, her quiet smile a beacon of triumph. The world saw her not as a janitor, but as a genius who'd reclaimed her stage. Her linen dress became an icon, her story trending as the Steinway Queen. Oria's reputation crumbled, its board scrambling to save face, but the world had moved on, captivated by the woman who'd turned mockery into music. Daniel and Lena left the gala hand in hand, her flats clicking on the marble, his suit a shadow beside her. The crowd parted, their earlier scorn replaced by awe. Evelyn collapsed into a chair, her gown crumpled, muttering, "We're finished." Elias's phone dropped, his future gone. The SUVs waited outside, their engines purring. Lena and Daniel stepped into the lead vehicle, the doors closing with a soft thud. The convoy pulled away, leaving Oria in chaos. Lena didn't watch the fallout. She was in their quiet lakeside home, her dress swapped for a sweater, teaching a young student on a modest upright piano. Daniel set the table, their laughter soft, their bond unbreakable. She'd walked into judgment and walked out stronger, not because she'd fought, but because she'd played. The world would remember that night, not for the scandal or the wealth, but for the woman who'd faced a crowd and shown them what genius sounds like. Lena Hart didn't need their applause, she was the melody. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.